The wind howls, a frantic whisper against the steel lattice. Far below, the world blurs, a distant hum. But up here, something else sings, a low, discordant drone that isn't the tower's vibration. It's coming from inside the antenna housing, a place untouched for years. A chill, tighter than the altitude, grips me, not from the cold. What is making that sound? Welcome to Room Beneath, where we unearth the tales that keep you awake at night. Before we begin, please like this video, subscribe to this channel, and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss the next stories. Tonight, we climb to heights unknown, where a routine job uncovers an impossible truth. The service call came in late Tuesday afternoon. An old, decommissioned cell tower, off-grid for years, suddenly showing a rogue signal spike. Alex Miller, veteran tech, sighed. It meant a long drive out to the forgotten edge of the county, where dirt roads vanished into overgrown wilderness. He checked his gear, the familiar weight of his tools a small comfort against the growing unease. This wasn't just a simple fix. These remote jobs always held a quiet, unsettling isolation. The climb was brutal. Rust flaked off the cold steel lattice under his gloved hands, each rung a test. The wind, usually a familiar companion at these heights, seemed to carry a new, unsettling quality. A low, almost guttural hum that vibrated through the structure. Alex paused, wiping sweat from his brow, his bright LED headlamp cutting through the encroaching twilight. He felt a prickle on his neck, an irrational sensation of being watched, not by birds or distant wildlife, but something closer, something on the tower with him. Finally, reaching the highest platform, Alex found the main antenna housing, sealed tight with corroded bolts. The humming was louder now, resonating from deep within. With a grunt, he pried open the access panel. Inside, amidst dusty wires and old circuit boards, was something completely alien. It wasn't equipment. It was a smooth, obsidian-like stone, roughly spherical, embedded directly into the tower's core, pulsating with a faint, internal violet light. Strange, intricate symbols, unlike any he'd ever seen, were etched across its surface, glowing faintly with the same unnatural light. Alex reached out a hesitant hand, his fingers trembling, drawn by an inexplicable pull to the strange object. As his fingertips brushed its cold, smooth surface, the violet light intensified, the humming escalating into a piercing, discordant scream that vibrated through his very bones. The etched symbols flared, shifting, morphing as if alive. A sudden, overwhelming pressure slammed into his mind. Images flashing, ancient rites, shadowed figures, and a crushing sense of profound, cosmic dread. The world spun, the tower swaying violently around him, but it wasn't the wind. It was the stone, waking up, and it was reaching back. The piercing scream from the obsidian stone wasn't just auditory, it was a physical force tearing through Alex's mind, a whirlwind of ancient, terrifying visions. He saw fleeting glimpses of shadowed entities, their forms shifting like smoke, performing unspeakable rites around a similar pulsating stone, but infinitely larger, nestled in a vast cyclopean chamber. The tower around him no longer felt like solid steel, but a fragile cage vibrating on the edge of collapse, threatening to cast him into the swirling void that seemed to open below. He instinctively recoiled, a primal terror gripping him. With a grunt born of sheer desperation, Alex wrenched his hand away from the stone. The immediate, deafening psychic assault lessened, but a sickening echo reverberated through his skull, leaving him disoriented and nauseous. He stumbled backward, tripping over a loose cable, narrowly avoiding a long fall from the platform. His headlamp's beam flickered across the alien artifact, its violet glow now appearing to pulse in sync with his own frantic heartbeat. The silence that followed the scream was more terrifying, thick and oppressive, filled with unspoken menace. He knew, with a chilling certainty, that he had awakened something ancient and malevolent. His entire body screamed for him to descend, to escape this cursed place. But as he turned to face the ladder, a strange distortion rippled across his vision. The familiar steel rungs seemed to warp and shift, some vanishing into thin air, others elongating impossibly. He blinked hard, trying to clear his head, but the effect persisted. He heard faint whispers on the wind, not words, but a cacophony of ancient guttural sounds that seemed to emanate from the very structure of the tower itself, echoing the visions he had just experienced. Panic, cold and sharp, began to truly set in. This wasn't just a physical threat, it was something far more insidious. He forced himself to move, cautiously gripping the first rung, his mind screaming that it wasn't real, that the tower couldn't be doing this. But with each step down, the whispers grew louder, coalescing into a chorus of disembodied voices that seemed to call his name from the darkness below. Suddenly, a section of the ladder below him shimmered and vanished, replaced by an impossible chasm of twisting shadows and violet light. His foot found only empty air where steel should have been. Alex clung on, suspended, his headlamp beam swallowed by the abyss, realizing with a jolt of ice-cold dread that the tower, or whatever controlled it, didn't want him to leave. Alex's muscles screamed as he clung to the cold steel, his foot swinging uselessly in the void where the ladder once was. The chasm below him wasn't empty space. It was a swirling maelstrom of violet light and impossibly deep shadows, the whispers now a chorus of disembodied voices rising from its depths, mocking his predicament. Every instinct urged him to pull himself up, but the rungs above seemed to stretch into infinity, and the air crackled with a malevolent energy, making it impossible to focus. This wasn't a malfunction, it was an attack. The tower was alive, and it wanted him trapped. A desperate glance upwards revealed a faint glimmer, a single flickering rung just within reach, impossibly solid amidst the swirling distortions. Was it a trick? Another trap? He had no choice. With a surge of adrenaline, he hauled himself up, his arms burning, his eyes darting, trying to anticipate the tower's next illusion. The whispers transformed into fleeting, shadowy figures dancing at the edge of his vision, their forms too indistinct to be real, yet too terrifying to ignore. He felt a chilling sense of being guided, not by safety, but by an unseen force deeper into the tower's nightmare. Instead of leading downwards, the re-manifested rungs twisted unexpectedly, guiding him along a horizontal beam, then up into a forgotten, corroded access shaft. The air grew heavy, thick with the scent of ozone and something metallic, almost organic. His headlamp cut through the oppressive darkness, revealing not wires and equipment, but grotesque, root-like growths of unknown material snaking through the metal framework, pulsating faintly with the same violet light as the stone above. The whispers here were no longer distant. They seemed to emanate directly from these growths, a symphony of ancient, murmuring voices that clawed at his sanity. The shaft opened into a small cylindrical chamber, utterly devoid of any modern technology. The pulsating roots converged here, weaving into a massive, living tapestry that covered every surface, all leading to a central, pedestal-like extrusion. Upon it, nestled amongst the writhing tendrils, were dozens of smaller, perfectly spherical obsidian stones, each one throbbing with its own faint violet glow. As Alex's headlamp swept across them, the stones shimmered, and he saw faces, faint, ethereal images of human eyes and mouths screaming silently, trapped within the obsidian. He wasn't alone. He was in a tomb, and he had woken its occupants. The silent screams etched into the obsidian stones were a tableau of pure, unadulterated horror. Alex stared, transfixed, at the dozens of faces, eyes wide with terror, mouths agape in soundless agony, each one a chilling testament to the tower's malevolent power. The root-like growths around them seemed to writhe with a deeper, more sinister energy, their violet pulses now feeling like slow, deliberate heartbeats. The whispers, which had been a cacophony, now coalesced into a unified, guttural hum that vibrated not in his ears, but deep within his chest, a low thrumming that threatened to unravel his very being. He wasn't just in a chamber, he was in a gallery of the damned, and he could feel their collective despair pressing in on him. One face, older and more distinct than the others, embedded in a stone directly before him, seemed to lock eyes with Alex. Its silent scream intensified, not just a visual, but a psychic wave of ancient despair and desperate longing. He felt a torrent of images flood his mind, towering structures of an impossible geometry, rituals under a sky of swirling, unnatural stars, and a profound, agonizing loneliness that transcended time itself. It was a plea, a warning, a desperate attempt to communicate centuries of torment. The chamber's ambient violet light flickered wildly, mirroring the turmoil in his mind, and the oppressive hum seemed to focus entirely on him, a siren song attempting to draw him into the same eternal prison. Overwhelmed, Alex stumbled backward, desperate to break the connection, to escape the crushing weight of the trapped souls. He frantically swept his headlamp beam across the walls, searching for any break in the organic tapestry of roots, any crack, any semblance of an exit. But as he moved, the root-like tendrils across the chamber reacted. They began to thicken, to extend, slowly and deliberately weaving across the small gaps he had identified, sealing them shut. The air grew heavy, thick with ozone and a cloying metallic scent, as if the chamber itself was actively solidifying, becoming an inescapable organic cage. The whispers turned into a low, mocking chuckle, echoing his growing panic. His frantic search for an escape route proved futile. The chamber was not just closing in, it was transforming. The central pedestal, laden with the screaming obsidian stones, began to slowly, inexorably sink into the floor. The violet light intensifying as it descended, drawing the trapped faces deeper into the tower's core. From the ceiling, directly above Alex, a massive, grotesque tendril, thicker than a man's torso, and pulsating with a sickening, emerald-violet glow, began to unfurl. It descended with chilling slowness, its surface slick and glistening, adorned with smaller, razor-sharp barbs. Alex was cornered, his back against the solidifying wall of roots as the colossal appendage lowered itself, clearly intending to embrace him, to make him the newest, screaming addition to its horrific collection. The colossal tendril, slick and glistening, descended with predatory slowness, its barbs glinting in the violet emerald glow. Alex, pressed against the solidifying wall of roots, felt a cold dread turn into a burning resolve. This wasn't just a capture, it was an assimilation. He scrambled, his hand instinctively going to his utility belt, pulling out a heavy-duty wire cutter. Its dull metallic glint seemed utterly insignificant against the monstrous living appendage, but it was all he had. The whispers intensified, weaving into a chorus of mocking anticipation, savoring his inevitable absorption. With a primal yell, Alex swung the wire cutter, not at the main tendril, but at a cluster of smaller, pulsating roots that fed into its monstrous base on the ceiling. The steel jaws bit deep, severing several, and a sickening, viscous fluid splattered onto his face. The tendril recoiled with an agonizing, silent shriek that tore through his mind, and the chamber convulsed. A searing pain shot through Alex's arm where the fluid touched him, but the distraction was enough. A section of the root-covered wall behind him, weakened by the chamber's convulsions, finally cracked open, revealing a narrow, dark fissure. He didn't hesitate. Scrambling through the narrow fissure, Alex tumbled into a tight, vertical shaft, barely wide enough for his shoulders. The air was thick with the metallic organic scent, and the whispers echoed all around him, no longer mocking, but enraged. He slid downward, scraping against jagged metal and pulsating roots, his headlamp beam piercing the absolute darkness. He could hear the tower groaning, shifting around him, trying to crush him. But he focused on one goal: getting out. He realized the tower wasn't just a structure housing an evil artifact. It was the artifact, a living, monstrous entity that had consumed everything around it. Alex burst out onto the highest platform, gasping, his body aching. The obsidian stone in the antenna housing pulsed wildly, its violet light now a blinding, furious beacon. It was no longer just an object, it was the heart of the tower, and it was screaming. With a final surge of adrenaline, fueled by a terrifying understanding of its evil, Alex lunged. He tore through the remaining wires connecting the stone, plunging the tower into chaos. The violet light died, the structure convulsed violently, and then, with a deafening, groaning roar that echoed across the desolate landscape, the entire upper section of the tower buckled and collapsed, crashing into the wilderness below. Alex, bruised and broken, but alive, stumbled away as the dust settled, the silence more chilling than any scream. He carried no physical souvenir, but the silent screams of the trapped faces, the whispers, and the knowledge of the cosmic horror he had witnessed would forever be etched into his soul, a permanent scar from the forgotten tower.